Hello. Let my people go. Hi, this is Kathy of KathysRight.com. Sorry, that's my guitar. KathysRight.com. This is part 2 of Exodus, Movement of the People. I don't know if you guys know this, but many moons ago, I've had multiple careers, but one of my first careers was as a backup vocal for a reggae band. Let my people go. I sang this song called Exodus, Movement of the People. It was a reggae band, y'all. I had never even heard of reggae when I auditioned, but I got the part and I had a lot of fun for a couple of years being a backup vocal. But yeah, Exodus, Movement of the People. So let's continue talking about the mass exodus of Black people out of that Democratic Plantation, because we are finally getting a clue. I am proud to be an African American. I don't like that word as much because it doesn't really specify what part of Africa, because, you know, now that we do the DNA, I'm a little particular because I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know I was Nigerian. The Democrats want everything to be about race. If it's not race this, it's race that. They have to say that Trump is a racist, which is a lie. They twist history. Doing some research for the show, I was looking into the history of Mar-a-Lago. And Mar-a-Lago is in Palm Beach. That's where he's always going. But what people don't know is when he purchased Mar-a-Lago and tried to develop it, this was the early 90s, 1993, all of the golf clubs and private clubs in Palm Beach were restricted. That was as recent as the early 90s. And they were restricted, meaning only WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, were welcome to these private clubs. These are private liberal people. And Donald Trump, when he bought Mar-a-Lago, he wanted to develop it, and he wanted it to be unrestricted. And the city council fought him on it. They didn't want to start something that might evolve into Black people actually getting to golf and play tennis in Palm Beach. So they placed burdensome rules on Mar-a-Lago, more so than any of the other clubs, trying to prevent Donald Trump from opening his club to Blacks and Jews. And he finally got it opened, but only after a fight and hiring many lawyers, some of whom were really close friends. And one thing that really sticks in my mind is during this battle of getting the approval for getting that golf club going, because I, personally, I'm a golfer. I love to golf. I've been golfing longer than I want to admit. If you look at my handicap, you would wonder why it's not way lower, but I still love to golf. Anyways, I'm a golfer, and Black golfers know about this. When he did that, the city council fought him tooth and nail. He had to file a lawsuit against the city of Palm Beach because of their burdensome restrictions that were not used on anybody else. He actually sent each member of the city council a copy of the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner as a message. Eventually, he did get his approval, and he opened up Mar-a-Lago, and it was indeed unrestricted. Can you believe we still had restricted clubs like that in the South in 1993? But Donald Trump was pivotal in changing that. I remember as a kid and even a teen, my father bowled a lot. He used to like to bowl. He was in several bowling leagues. And he told me more than once, he goes, you know, I would have been a golfer if the golf courses had been open to him. You know, he wasn't eligible to be a member. I mean, blacks at the time were, only allowed pretty much in municipal golf courses, owned by the city. And now with PGA rules, if a golf club wants to be associated with PGA, they have to be unrestricted to Jews and blacks, because that's the history. And blacks have been playing golf. We just didn't get to play at the really good places because of those restrictions. And Donald Trump was instrumental in changing that for black golfers in the South. And I don't want people to forget that, because I know when you look it up, they've rewritten history again. Like I keep finding, they rewrote history to make it look like, oh, well, it was all about money. Well, yeah, of course, it's going to be about money. Nobody goes into business to lose money. But it was also about doing the right thing, because there were a lot of Jews retired down there, living down there, blacks too. And blacks had moved up and earned their way. And why wouldn't we have the privileges of the golf course? And now, look at us now. I mean, we've got our Tiger Woods. I've got my own golf cart. Half my closet is golf clothes. And I really appreciate Donald Trump for that. I think that's something that all of us should appreciate. So for all of the dirty little stories that are sent out for people to think badly of our president, remember that one. I will remember that one when I get in my golf cart that has a Trump bumper sticker on the front. And that makes me very proud of who I voted for. So when I said let my people go, the reason I brought that up is because people aren't not aware, unless they know someone, of what black people who are leaving the plantation are going through. Many are ostracized by their friends, family, people that loved them. I've seen it in my own life, but I've always been a Republican, so that kind of stuff rolls off my back. But other blacks have been the worst towards the blacks who have left the plantation. It's like, oh, you're going to be free? Well, what about Massa? He's giving you food. Don't you appreciate anything? Well, basically, the Democratic Party has turned black people into slaves. They're enslaved to benefits. They're enslaved to drugs. They're enslaved to living in ghettos. It's mental. Slavery is between the ears. I was fooled just like they were, even though I was Republican. But when you think of what the issues are in this 2020 election, black people have the same issues as white people and Mexican people, Americans. When I say that, I mean open borders. Open borders hurts everybody in this country. 90% of all drugs, illicit drugs that enter our country come in through our southern border. 90%. Some of those drugs contain fentanyl, which is killing our children, our young adults, and they're at the mercy of these drug dealers. And I think it's very telling to me. Why is it that the Democrats want to keep those borders open? Don't they care about the children who are being sex trafficked? Don't they care about the people who are actually, sex slavery is actually coming through that border? There are people who are hiring people who come through the border illegally, who actually are, these people who come, the people that are hiring them, some of them treat them like slaves. Because they know that no matter how badly they treat them, they feel as though, well, you're here illegally, so I can do whatever I want. And what are you going to do? Call the police? If we enforced our border, I'm sure our drug abuse will be reduced. I'm sure our murder rate will go down. When Trump said that we aren't getting the best of the people through the border, He wasn't saying that Mexican people or people who were born south of the border are any lesser than we are. What he was saying is, we're not getting your doctors, your lawyers, your architects, your engineers. We're not. We're not getting the cream of the crop. But we are getting MS-13 people who believe rape and murder is a form of initiation into their evil society. That's what we're getting. Let's be honest here. Sex trafficking is a very, very real problem. And if you ever talked or listened to someone who's been through that, it is so insidious. It can be right under your nose and you won't know. Many people, including myself, I didn't know that. All I know is my brother many, many moons ago was killed by illegal immigrants. He was going fishing on an Easter Sunday. He was on a ferry boat that his car was on. And him and his wife and his friend and his friend's wife, they were on their way to go fishing. And they were attacked by 4 illegal immigrants. I remember my mother saying, because it was the Easter Sunday, my mother said, Greg, you should go to church. It's Easter. He goes, no, Mom, I'm going to go fishing. We're going to go fishing. And to this day, my mom thinks, and I do too, she said, wow, if he'd only gone to church like I asked him to, he'd be alive today. Or if they only monitored our border, maybe build a wall, he'd be alive today. He was my only brother. Yeah, those guys went to jail. They got out really early. I don't know. They were, the one guy got 7 years and he got out in 4. And he was the one with the crowbar that hit my brother over the head. My brother fell into the water and died. And it took us days to find his body. And by the time his body was found, it was not something my mother could look at. And I want people to know that by no means am I or anyone else saying that this is all the people who immigrate here illegally. But the fact that we don't know who's coming in and we're not controlling that leaves us wide open for abuse, wide open for crime, wide open for drugs. Good job, Democrats. So another thing I want to bring up is when people are exiting the Democratic Party and they are being abused by friends and family. I see it all the time. It's devastating. I've seen even my white friends. I have a couple white friends who literally came out of the closet. Like nowadays, if you tell your liberal family that you're a Republican, it's almost would have been better if they had heard you were gay or something, because they will say, oh, if you were gay, they're like, aw, I'm so glad you came out. But if you're a Republican, they get this evil look on their face. Their whole demeanor changes. Like, how dare you? How dare you leave the Democrat Party? But after years of brainwashing, I have to tell you, it takes courage and intelligence to do that, to be intellectually honest with yourselves and others, to be intellectually honest with God and your faith. And if you can be that, if you can be courageous, if you can be intellectually honest, you will find that these issues, like open borders, like a free economy, these issues are universal in the United States of America. If African Americans were honest with themselves, they know that African Americans, Black Americans, are the most harmed by illegal immigration. There are places in Texas and California where a young African American, Black American young